This is episode 12 of the One Idea podcast, the 5-second rule in marketing. This podcast is produced by Evolve and Adapt, a certified marketing consultancy firm based in Singapore and Malaysia. If you need the strategy and marketing implementation work for your business to succeed in the digital economy, reach out to us at evolveadapt.com. Dear citizens, my name is JC Sum. I'm a certified marketing management consultant and the author of Evolve, Adapt or Collapse. Last week, I gave a lecture at INTI International College, Penang. The topic was the 5-second rule in marketing. Global connectivity, high-speed internet, and social media have caused people's attention spans to drop significantly. Brands, businesses, and content creators are fighting for consumers' attention every single second of the day. To make an online impression and stop consumers from scrolling past your content or ad, you need to capture their attention within 5 seconds. My lecture explained the strategy and tactics to make an instant online impression for maximum visibility and conversions. I thought I would share some of the highlights from the lecture to you, a listener of the One Idea podcast. Let's check out some statistics provided by Wyzowl, or maybe it is Wyzowl. According to research, our attention span has decreased in just 15 years. In the year 2000, the average attention span was 12 seconds. In 2015, the average attention span was 8.25 seconds. And I'm sure in 2022, it's around 5 seconds. In fact, scientists reckon we now have a shorter attention spans than goldfish, who have an average attention span of 9 seconds. An office worker, on average, will check their email inbox 30 times an hour. That sounds like quite a bit. I think it really depends on your job and your designation. For example, if you're monitoring customer service and you work for a well-known brand with lots of customers, it is possible you get a lot of emails. For most people, checking emails 30 times an hour seems a bit much, unless you consider the automated emails coming in part of checking. But I do know people who get hundreds of emails a day, so what they do is really check their email only about 3 times a day. In the morning, in the middle of the day, and then towards the end of the day. If not, they'll not be able to get their work done. I have to admit, I do get a couple of 100 emails a day, but it's always from the same Nigerian prince who wants to give me money. Here's another statistic. The average user picks up their phone more than 1,500 times a week, taking up an average of 3 hours, 16 minutes a day. I think this is actually on the low side now, because I think more people spend time on their mobile phone or on their devices, and it's definitely going to be more than 3 hours a day. Most users will read at most 28% of the text on an average web page during an average visit. 20% is more likely. This is likely very true because we do scan through web pages when we're consuming information, and especially if we're visiting a new site and are trying to assess if the site is relevant to our needs, then it's likely we'll only be looking at about 20% of the words, scrolling through, looking at images or infographics. The average page visit lasts less than a minute, and users often leave web pages in just 10 to 20 seconds. If you look at the data analytics of your website, you'll probably find this to be true. The metric you should be looking at is time on page, and you'll realize that most people stay probably less than a minute on your page. Of course, it really depends on the nature of your website and the length of your content. For better performing pages, people might stay longer, maybe 2-3 minutes or even 5 minutes, but on the average, you'll see a lot of people leaving after a couple of seconds or in less than 1 minute. So a lot of times it depends on the user's intent. They may have come onto your website by accident, in which case they would leave very quickly, or they may not find that they have the information they want, so they leave, or maybe they scan through your information very quickly because the content is very thin. In any case, from a marketer's point of view, this is the modern consumer behavior, and you need to figure out how you can communicate your brand message and tell them what you want to do when they only spend 10 to 20 seconds on your web page. So this is where the 5-second rule in marketing comes in, and this is something we developed internally at Evolve and Adapt. This is the rule. You basically have 5 seconds to tell your target audience the following 3 things: who you are, what you do, and why they should buy from you. It is that simple. If you can communicate these 3 things in 5 seconds through your marketing copy, your creative such as your headline, image, or graphic, then you might have a much higher chance at success in communicating your message or capturing the audience's attention. So that is the 5-second rule. Tell your target audience who you are, what you do, and why they should buy from you. One way to look at it is to always refer to the basic customer journey, the 4-stage customer journey, which consists of awareness, consideration, purchase, and advocacy. So think of a 4-stage funnel, also known as the marketing or sales funnel. Let's start right at the top of the funnel, awareness. Just imagine a physical funnel, which is the widest right at the top. The awareness stage is how your customers are exposed to your brand, product, or service. And this is where you are really trying to have the widest reach, which is why it's at the top of the funnel and at the widest point of the funnel. Once you gain awareness for your brand, your product, or your service, then you can filter out customers so they can go to the 2nd stage of the funnel. And this is where the funnel starts to taper. In the 2nd stage of consideration, this is where your customers are deciding whether your product or service fits their needs. So they're kind of figuring out if this is something they need in their lives and whether they should buy from you. If they decide that you are a good fit for their needs, then they'll move to the 3rd stage of the funnel, which is purchase. This is when customers buy your product or service. After they buy your product or service, we hope they move to the 4th stage of the funnel, which is advocacy. This is when customers become loyal customers and brand evangelists, where they start telling their friends and family about your product and getting them to buy it. This is a very basic 4-stage customer journey: awareness, consideration, purchase, and advocacy. So where do you think the 5-second rule applies? If you think awareness, you're absolutely right. Because awareness is the stage where you're trying to get your message out there, you're trying to get your brand in front of people, increase that brand visibility, and just expose your brand to the masses. Hence, this is where the 5-second rule comes in, because you have 5 seconds to tell your potential target audience who you are, what you do, and why they should buy from you. Why they should buy from you is really the lead-in to the 2nd phase of the funnel, which is consideration, where they're deciding whether your product or service fits their needs. So the 5-second rule fits in the awareness stage of the customer journey, and the whole point is to get people to move to the 2nd stage of consideration. Let me give you some examples of marketing tactics used in different stages of the customer journey so it's less abstract. Let's start with awareness, the 1st stage. So what sort of marketing tactics will be used to create awareness and brand visibility for your product or service? You have search engine optimization, which is getting found organically on Google. Search engine marketing, which is advertising on Google so that your website or link will be shown at the top of search results where it says ad. Content marketing, creating content that can be shared and to build authority and credibility for your brand. What I've spoken so far is known as inbound marketing, where potential customers are coming inbound looking for information or solutions that you might provide, and hopefully they stumble upon you. The opposite of inbound marketing is outbound marketing. And outbound marketing is interruptive marketing, where you're trying to put your brand in front of people when they just go about their everyday lives. In traditional marketing, outbound marketing would be things like newspaper ads, outdoor media like billboards, bus station ads, bus ads, or taxi ads. You could also run roadshows in public venues, which is a form of outbound marketing because you're stopping people to let them know about your brand. In digital marketing, outbound marketing includes paid ads, such as advertising on platforms like Facebook, Google, Instagram, or TikTok, so that your ad will be seen to their user base. Other examples of outbound marketing include email marketing and getting media and PR. So all these are examples of marketing tactics to create awareness for your brand. Now we come to the second stage of the customer journey, which is consideration. What do you use to convince people that you are the right fit for them so that you can move them down to the purchase stage of the funnel? Well, here are the tactics that you can use for consideration. This includes the offering, that means the range of your products or services that fulfill needs, your value proposition, brand differentiation, your authority and credibility, the content structure and clarity of your marketing material, and finally, your pricing. Now, after going through all these considerations, should a customer decide to buy, they will buy because of maybe an offer that might be there. You might offer free shipping, for example, free delivery, or maybe a discount if they're to buy a bundle deal. And of course, the ease of purchase is just as important. Just think of an e-commerce site that you might have been on in terms of your customer journey. You find a product that you like, you decide to buy it, you add it to your cart. But when it comes time to check out and you try to make a purchase, it is just too convoluted and just too troublesome. They want you to sign up for an account, after that to verify the account in your email, and then go back in to add in your information. After that, you have to add in maybe payment information, authorize that. The whole process just gets so clunky that you decide to leave. And this happens a lot in e-commerce and is known as abandoning the cart. So having the right offer and the ease of purchase is actually a very important part of marketing to ensure people complete the purchase. Finally, the fourth stage of the funnel, advocacy. The marketing tactics that you can use include having a great product. This seems so obvious, but having a great product is the best way to get repeat customers and to get people to advocate for your brand. You can also have great customer service, customer-only promotions, and also increase your own brand visibility by maybe having good social proof and testimonials, as well as reviews in the media. So all these are examples of marketing tactics that you can execute at every stage of the customer journey. And notice how different each one is. You have to pick the right tactics for the right stage of the customer journey. So now let's talk about the strategy and tactics for the 5-second rule in marketing. Let's start off with strategy because it's always strategy before tactics, and that's a motto we have at Evolve and Adapt. So what is the 5-second rule strategy? It's very simple. I said it right from the start. It is to communicate who you are, what you do, and why your target audience should buy from you. If you keep that as your guiding principle, you will never go wrong. It is the very fundamental strategy which will help you in all the decisions pertaining to your marketing tactics. So just remember the 5-second rule strategy: communicate who you are, what you do, and why your target audience should buy from you in 5 seconds. Now let's have a look at the basic 5-second rule tactics. First is to define your audience. If you define your audience, you will know which platform or channel to market to them on. For example, if you're trying to target teens between 14 to 18 years old, it is unlikely you use Facebook as your channel because all their parents are on Facebook. They aren't going to be on Facebook. They are more likely going to be on TikTok or maybe Instagram. So by defining your audience, you not only know which marketing channel to choose, you also know what sort of language, what sort of creatives, and how you should communicate to that specific target audience. Likewise, if you're looking for customers who are professionals, you will not be on TikTok, you may or may not be on Facebook, but you're more likely going to be on LinkedIn. Regardless of your platform, after you've defined your target audience, you need to have a focused message with a single call to action. I think this is just as important as defining your target audience. Too many marketers try to cram too much information into a single piece of marketing. When it comes to the 5-second rule, you need a focused message with a single call to action in order to cut through all the clutter and to ensure that you can tell who you are, what you do, and why your target audience should buy from you. And the only way to do that is with a focused message and a single call to action. So what do we mean by a single call to action? It means you only want them to do one thing after seeing this particular ad or social post or piece of marketing. You either want them to contact you, or maybe to buy something, to fill up a form, to watch a video, whatever it might be. Only ask them to do one action. That is it. Do not ask them to call you, download something, sign up for a membership, and make a purchase. This is just too much information and it's impossible to communicate effectively in 5 seconds. So remember, have a focused message with a single call to action, and this should be consistent throughout your creative, your headline, and your text copy. Do not be afraid to repeat this focused message with a single call to action in different parts of your marketing piece. Next, choose an eye-catching image. This seems like a no-brainer, but one thing to add is to ensure that the eye-catching image is relevant to your product or service or whatever you're trying to sell. It is easy to find an eye-catching image such as a cute dog or pretty girl, but does it relate to your particular product or brand message? So make sure you find a relevant eye-catching image. Finally, write a compelling headline. This is also very important to ensure you capture people's attention. The image may capture people's attention visually, but it is the headline that communicates that focused message with that single call to action. So have a compelling headline so that people would stay on for 5 seconds to read your message. So those are the basic tactics to execute the 5-second rule strategy. And as always, remember the basic customer journey and where that 5-second rule should be implemented. It is always implemented at the awareness stage of the marketing funnel, which is right at the top, which is where your customers will be exposed to your brand, product, or service. So this is the one idea of this episode. Find a way to communicate to your target audience who you are, what you do, and why they should buy from you in 5 seconds. If you can get this down across all your marketing material, your chances of success are going to be very high because you're going to cut through all the clutter that your audience is currently facing, from stories on social media to entertainment choices and of course the fierce market competition both offline and online. Remember, you only have 5 seconds, and in 2 or 3 years' time, it's probably going down to 3 seconds. And then we'll talk about the 3-second rule in marketing. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the One Idea podcast. Catch every episode by subscribing to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or on your favorite podcast app. Just search for One Idea. ONEEYEDEER. As you know, a podcast needs listeners' reviews to grow. So please leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. This ensures we can keep this podcast free forever. Check the show notes for details. If you'd like to learn more about the podcast, myself, or our consulting firm, head over to oneideapodcast.com. My name is JC Sum, and this has been One Idea.